Hello, everybody. Welcome to Kevin Plays Disc Golf. Today we have a playthrough and course review of the Championship 18-hole layout of Westy Acres in Greenfield, Massachusetts. If you're looking for the full 27-hole playthrough and review, check out the link in the description. My name is Kevin, and I play disc golf. Filming on course for this video was done on August 4th, 2025. The course originally opened in 2017. Primary access to this course is from exit 50 off Interstate 91 coming from the north, or 50B coming from the south, and heading west on Massachusetts State Route 10. After about 1/2 mile, Route 10 will join with US Route 5 at a T intersection. Take a left and follow US 5 and Massachusetts Route 10. After about 1 mile, take a right onto Severance Street, which will take you back under I-91. If you're coming from the south on Route 5, the left on Severance Street is about 2 miles after the intersection with Route 2. Once on Severance Street, after about 1/4 mile, take a sharp left onto Newell Pond Road. This does go through a residential neighborhood and the road is narrow. After about 1,000 feet, the road will make a 90-degree right turn and become Graves Road and narrow further. After about another 500 feet, take a left onto Raymond Road. This is a 1-lane gravel road that looks like a long driveway. Yes, you are going the right way. You'll pass a house on your left, continue down the path to the right. Shortly, this will open up into a parking lot and you will see disc golf baskets and tees in a field just past the parking lot. To play this course, you do need to sign up for a tee time in advance at westy.org/westyacres, link in the description. There is a $5 fee that can be paid either in advance or at a cash drop box on the building adjacent to the parking lot. There are occasional closures for various reasons, such as mud at the time this video is being released in mid-March, but both the Westy Acres website and UDisc are regularly updated to include any activities that may affect play when you sign up for a tee time. I played this course in early August, and it was hot enough that I had some camera overheating issues on parts of the course, so I apologize in advance for some of the weird audio, video, and missing throws. The course is open year-round for the most part, and the UDisc course configurations are updated regularly based on which course configurations are available to play. It had been relatively dry for a bit when I played, so there are a few places that I expect may hold moisture more if it has either rained recently or during early spring, and I suspect that earlier in the year the underbrush that is growing in the OB swampy areas is likely to be shorter, and thus make it easier to see where exactly you're going before it gets as tall as it was in August. There are 5 course configurations, from shortest to longest: purple, red, white, and the new for 2025 blue and gold layouts. It is my attempt that this playthrough will prove useful for all 5. Usually I play the longest configuration, however, based on what I expected, I chose to play the blue configuration rather than the gold. For me, I feel this was a wise choice. The white configuration is the most popular. This playthrough will be for the Championship 18-hole course. The link to the 27-hole layout is in the description. Trash should be treated as carry in, carry out. There are 2 porta potties on the course, one by the parking lot and one between the basket for hole F and the gold tee for hole G and 11. There is a pagoda that had water jugs the day that I played that is in the area near holes 4, 5, 10, 11, and 12. This was very much appreciated during my round. Dogs are allowed. This is a disc golf exclusive property, so everyone here is playing disc golf. There are a few spots where you have to be a bit careful of other people playing, especially if they are playing a different course configuration than you are. I do mention these locations through the video. I'll have my overall review of the course at the end of the video. Be sure to post your comments as to your thoughts of what you think looks fun and where you think the problem areas are. Now we'll go to the parking lot to see how to get started on the course.
Here we are at the main parking lot to Westy Acres. One thing you'll notice is that if you have made it this far, that yes, the road going in really is that narrow and does end up going somewhere. So we can spin around and we end up in the parking lot. And in this open field here, we have hole J that is there. We have a couple of practice baskets. We have a stage that looks like a staging area for the course. There is a porta potty on the opposite side of the parking lot from the building. I'll have all the details on this, but one thing to note is we do need to register to play this course online at westyacres.com. On the side of the stage area, this is sort of the main start area. It has a full map of the entire course. The small white box in the lower left is the box where you can drop your cash. It is $5 to play here. There's also a lost and found box there, and so this is where all of that stuff ends up going. The stage has a couple picnic tables out on it. This looks like a pretty well set up area for all the tournaments that they do here or other events. And to get from here to the tee of hole 1, the tee for hole 1 is in the middle of this field. Now I'm going to be playing the blue layout today. So I have taken a look at the course configuration options, and there are a couple places where I think the gold is going to be a bit much for me. So blue is as long as I feel comfortable playing. And here we are at the first tee. It is nice that they have all of the tees marked with colors, and in this case the blue tee and the gold tee share the same tee box. Hole 1 on the blue course is a 361-foot par 3. It is more or less straight ahead. However, the fairway goes to the left and the hole goes back to the right. The red basket, which is what all of the tees play to on this hole except for the gold tees, through the gap just on the right edge of it, there's a cluster of 3 trees off in the woods. The basket is directly behind that cluster of 3 trees. It's off the right edge of the leftmost tree, marking the entrance to the fairway. The gold basket is significantly further right and behind, and actually requires probably a different gap to get to the basket. That's going to end up right of where I want to be, but I think I have a clear shot at the basket from there. One other thing to note is the tee pads appear to have been repurposed football field AstroTurf, as you can sort of see the yard markers. I think this is maybe from the 20 or 30 yard line. Here we are just to the right of the red tee, and from here we can see the red basket from here. The purple tee is just ahead and to the right of here. My shot landed just in front of the purple tee, so I can take a walk over here. And here we have the purple tee for hole 1. We're about 30 feet in front of the purple tee. My shot is in the brush just to the right of here, so we'll see if I can get it close and start the round off with a par. I had trees in the way, but that's not terrible. I've got about a 20-foot putt for par from here, so we'll take a look at that. But if we look to our right, back in the cluster of trees there is the gold basket for hole 1. That's going to be real tough to get to. It's very much surrounded by trees and definitely a challenging basket location. Snuck that in for par, hooray. To get from the red basket of hole 1 to the tee for hole 2, if we look at the bottom of the basket, we can see there is both a red and a black arrow there pointing off to our right. So if we turn to our right and look in the direction of the gold basket, there is a nice little path here. And off in the distance, we can see a bench. And take a look, there's the gold basket. You can see very heavily surrounded by trees. That's going to be a tough putt. So there are a couple of tee options here again. If we go straight ahead, this is the gold and blue tees for hole 2. Hole 2 from the blue and gold tees is a 238-foot par 3. There is only one basket. We cannot see the basket from the tee, but it is significantly downhill. There's a creek behind the basket that is out of bounds, and we'll give a little bit better shot of exactly what the basket looks like shortly. But the idea is to go through this gully, have the disc move right to left, and once we get past this clump of trees and start to go downhill, then the world opens up in front of us. And that is way right in the woods. And here we have a little interesting setup of a dinosaur eating gnomes. Here we have a good look at the green. It's a shallow green. It does have a couple logs behind it and some fencing to help it go too far. I am up into the woods, probably about 30 to 40 feet right of here. I'm gonna have a tough time doing anything other than just a quick little chip out. Not a whole lot I could do from there, but at least I'm out of the woods. This is a much more challenging par putt. Something else to note is the basket is lower than normal. I'm guessing the basket's probably only about 2 feet off the ground. So just something else to think about on this hole. So taking a look at the left, if we look down in here, that area is quite marshy. So did not have good footing, but I'm pretty happy with how I ended up there. In the creek beyond the hole, we are not going to lose a disc in there. It has been raining pretty much all year to this point. I believe it set a record for 13 consecutive Saturdays with measurable rain, and some of it had a lot of rain. So this is just next to the bridge, and if we turn around, we can get our drop in for 4. And now to get from the basket of 2 to the tee for 3, if we cross the bridge here, with all the different paths, it's nice that it is well marked. Fairway ahead, watch for flying discs. Next tee goes to the right. So apparently that's another fairway up at the top of the hill there. So it's recommended to go this way just because, just to lessen your chance of getting hit. And I am here at roughly, I started my round at about 8:30 on a Wednesday morning. So it is, was literally nobody else in the parking lot and nobody else signed up to play today. So you do have to register to play, but you can just register online. Basically, all you need to do is give your name and your email address. You can pay online by Venmo, or you can drop cash in the box as I did. So now as we get to the crest of this hill, we have, so something to note here. If we look to our left and follow this path, we have a white tee there, and a blue tee and a gold tee here. Those are the tees for hole 15. So we'll see those a little bit later in the round. And if we continue straight, we have the tee for hole 3. Hole 3 on the blue course is a 488-foot par 4 downhill. There is quite a bit of OB here. So there's OB to the right, and there are 2 creeks that are both OB. This first one is pretty shallow and doesn't come into play that much, but the second one is typically where I would pretty much have a shot land. There's also out of bounds around the green and a couple of other areas there that we'll take a close look at. With my distance or lack thereof, I'm probably going to end up having to lay up just because of the chance of going into that second creek. I think that's short enough where it stayed in bounds. We'll take a look when we get up there. There is a drop zone from here, so if you're out of bounds off the tee from up here, you take one penalty stroke and play from the purple and red tees, which are on the left edge of the fairway just after it opens up, after we cross the bridge to the creek. On the bridge, looking at the first creek, we can see it's not that deep. You're not going to lose a disc in here. It's just out of bounds to try and keep you out of the soil. Here we are at the drop zone, so I made a bit of an error off the tee. The purple course plays from the purple tee to the purple basket, which is the one we can see off the tee. For all the other course configurations, we play to the red basket, which is tucked into the woods on the left side. There is a straight shot that we can see it through there if we go sort of a few trees in, just before the trees get really dense, and look under that tree that's angled off in the distance. That is where the red basket is. So it's 317 feet from here. So the idea on the tee is you really do want to cross both creeks, make a solid attempt to cross both creeks on your tee shot. The out of bounds is pretty narrow here, so we do need to be cognizant of that as well. So the drop zone is an optional drop zone off the tee. It's not required. So I'm going to move up, and instead of playing from the drop zone, I'm going to play from where my disc went out of bounds, just because it's a much easier shot, same penalty, and I'm quite a bit closer to the basket. So you're not required to go to the drop zone on out of bounds shots, but it is an option. Here we are at the second creek, and again, it's not deep enough where you're going to lose a disc. However, it is quite a bit shorter, I think, because it's more downhill than you would expect. So my disc is actually in probably about the deepest part there. I'm going to guess probably about 3 feet deep, but I can at least see the disc. Another convenient thing I will point out is if we turn to our right, where we have the tunnel for the river going underneath there, we look to our left from here, we have a disc retriever. So that is in about the perfect spot where it could be for where I threw my disc into the river. From here, it's going to require a little creativity. The best idea for me is going to be a S-shaped bend, but we'll see how we can do from here. Stay in bounds. Well, that's not what I wanted, but I may be far enough where I'm still in bounds there. I did manage to stay in bounds, so this will be for my par 4. This is a very narrow gap long of this sort of marsh area that's listed as out of bounds. It does look not nice in there, so you don't want to end up in there, which is why they have it as marked out of bounds. But I ended up just long of that. We'll see if I can make a miracle par from here, or if I end up with a bogey. We will take our 5 there and move on. So from where we are here, we are right next to the purple basket. To get from the purple basket to the gold tee for hole 4, the gold tee is right here in front of us. If we turn a little further up there, just up by the bench, that is the blue and white tees. From here, we will show you how to get to the purple and red tees a little bit later. Hole 4 on the blue and white course is a 353-foot par 3, very much right to left. There is out of bounds everywhere. You do need to clear this swamp to make it in bounds. It's not that far, maybe 150 feet or so. Then the basket goes significantly to the left. The basket is in line with, of the 3 prominent white flags there, in line with the rightmost of those 3, but way off up in the distance. It is slightly uphill. There's also out of bounds left and Out of Bounds Creek long as well. The gold basket is on the other side of that creek, but for here, blue and white, we are playing to the shorter baskets. There is another optional drop zone here. If we go out of bounds, we have the option of playing from the red and purple tees, which we cannot see from here, but we'll show you shortly. Well, that was not good. So that disc is lost. I will say that there are a lot of raspberry bushes on the right side here. I spent a little bit of time looking for it, but shredded up my legs enough that I decided to stop looking, and they are very dense over there. So the swamp, you might be able to find something in, but that disc went far enough right where it's in thick stuff that's going to be impossible to find right now. So spent some time looking for it, but it is gone, which is a bummer because it's a latitude 64 river, which is, there are some shots that I use that a lot for. So bummer to not have it for this round. So to get from the blue and white tees to the drop zone and red and purple tees, which we're going to play from, you go back towards the red basket for 3, take a right, and there's a nice path here. Again, these white flags are out of bounds markers, and you can get an idea of how tall this stuff is. And again, continue on. And yeah, here's an idea. If you look at these raspberry bushes and how dense they are, that's the type of stuff that is all up along the backside of the swamp there, which is where my disc is lost. So this is the area where we kind of ideally want to be. The out of bounds on the left side off the tee is for the small creek that's there, so that's why that is marked. And from here we have a better shot at the red basket, which is what we're going to. But there's a sign here for the red tee, which is where we're going. So we'll move up here and take our third shot from the drop zone and red and purple tees. So the drop zone color is orange. So if you look at the tee markers, we can see the orange on the bottom. That indicates that this is also a drop zone. Hole 4 from the drop zone, red tee and purple tee, is a 205-foot par 3. Again, I'm taking my third shot here from the drop zone, so we'll see how that works out. Unless I ace this, I'm not going to get a birdie here. We can also see the gold basket off to the right in the line of where the sunshine is out in the open field. So again, the gold tee plays this as a par 4, which I think is justifiable based on the sharp dog leg and the number of trees from where the gold tee is. Well, at least I didn't throw it right that time. Maybe a miracle putt for bogey? Nope, that's going to end up being a 5. To get from the basket of 4 to the tee for 5, if we look, we have a bridge there. Another thing to note, there is another disc retriever right by this creek here. So if you're playing gold tees or you go long, it's only about 20 feet long of the basket before you're out of bounds in the creek. But we can go over this bridge. And if we look to our right, there is the gold basket for hole 4. Again, this is another creek where, especially with the disc retriever, you're not going to lose a disc in there. It's just out of bounds and annoying, but not a real problem. So the next tee. So if we take a left off the bridge, we see the next tee sign for 5 and 12. We are going to hole 5. We can continue up this hill. And over the crest. And now we can see that we have a sign for 5 to the right. If we look to the left, that is hole 12. If we go to the top of this hill, we have to the right the tee for hole 10. Right in front of us here, we have the gold tee for hole 5. And just ahead and to the right of that, we have the gold, blue, and white tees for hole 10. And just beyond that, we have the basket for 9. And here we have the blue and white tees for hole 5.
Hole 5 is 390 feet. It's a par 3 for the blue course, par 4 for the white course. It is uphill. There is an elevated basket, and it is a dogleg to the left. We also have quite a bit of out of bounds to clear. We basically have to make it onto the plateau on the other side over to where the red and purple tees are. Note that we can see the purple tee from the basket, but all other course configurations play to the red basket, which is the elevated basket on the left side.
All right, let's see if I can do something from here. That's a good kick, and I will take a 4. Maybe I won't take a 4. Well, close. I'll take a 5. To get from the basket of 5 to the tee for 6, we continue down here. We can see we have a sign directing us to red and purple, which are just to our right, or gold and blue and white, which are to our left. It says we are playing the blue configuration. We will turn to the left and come back in here. So here we have the blue and the white to our right, and then the golds have a very narrow gap to get through out into the fairway from the golds, and it's quite a bit longer as well. Hole 6 from the blue and white tees is a 477-foot par 4 dogleg left. The basket that we can see off the tee on the right side is the purple basket. Only the purple tee plays to the purple basket. All others play to the red basket, which we cannot see from the tee. It is a dogleg left uphill, but we kind of want to get as far up and out in that field as we can. The further up we get, the shorter of a second shot we are going to have to the basket. There is out of bounds on the right, so we don't want to go too far right, but we'll see what we can do from here. Well, we'll get a good view from the purple and red tees. From here, it is 328 feet to the pin. Obviously, hitting that tree did not help the distance on my first shot. I am a little bit in front of this, but not much. We have that main gap that we need to go through, and then it's going to be an S-shaped bend. So the idea is we want to hit that going from right to left, and then have the disc go back left to right. There is a cluster of 3 large trees to the left of the main gap that we want to go through. The basket is behind that. So it's probably another 150 feet or so once we get to the crest of this hill before we get to the basket. That was still a little bit right of where I wanted to go, and obviously popped it up in the air, so hit a tree. Here we are just to the left of the purple basket, and now we can see the basket from here over the crest, down the hill, kind of through that main gap area there. So hopefully I can get this close for a shot at par. Well, that will at least leave me with a par putt. Something to note here about the green for 6, aside from the trees on the right side and the down tree, the ground does slope pretty steeply from right to left. So I have a bit of a death putt here from about 20 feet, and there may be a tree in the way, so we'll see if this works. Hooray, back on the par train. To get from the basket of 6 to the tee for 7, we want to turn around and go back up the fairway that we came from. I want to be a little bit careful of people throwing discs. And we want to take this left branch of the path. We look to our right, we could see the purple basket and the fairway for hole 6. And we can come out into the open. And if we take a right, we can see the white, red, and purple tees for hole 7. And if we go left, we will see the blue and gold tees for hole 7. Hole 7 from the blue course is a 590-foot par 4 downhill. There is out of bounds left, right, and we have a triple mando, although the height of the middle mando is probably 40 feet off the ground. So, well, it says triple mando. I don't think we have to worry about going too high here. We need to go between the 2 electric poles holding the wires up in the basket straight ahead. So that's what kind of keeps us going in the right direction here. If you miss the mando, there is a drop zone to the left next to where the mandos are. And I think that's inbounds, but that's way right. All right, so the mando we need to go through is through the 2 poles on the left. So let's see if I can make it through there. Nope, not even close. From there, we will take a 1-shot penalty and go to the drop zone. And now we're at the drop zone for what will be my 4th shot. And long putt for 5. And we'll take the drop in for 6. To get from the basket of 7 to the tee for 8, we want to make a U-turn and come back up this way. Now these tees that we are passing here are the gold, blue, and white tees for hole 9. And
from here, to get to hole 8, we want to take the right path and go past the purple tees to get to the red, white, blue, and gold tees that are along the tree line on the right side of the picture as we are looking at it.
We have the blue and white tees for hole 8. And then in the woods past, we have the gold tees for hole 8. Then to get to the red and purple tees for hole 8, they are a little bit further up there. Hole 8 is 602 feet. Blue plays as a par 4, white plays as a par 5. It is a dogleg right. The basket is tucked in about 125 to 150 feet into the woods. after we make the right to left turn. There is out of bounds along the right side and long. Basically, the deal is the further we can get down the fairway, the better access we are going to have to the basket, because it is a pretty sharp angle to get to the red basket. All of the tees play to the red baskets except the purple tee plays to the purple basket, which is much more accessible. Well, it looks like the camera had issues during that shot, but I kind of kept it low along the left side, not intentionally, but it made it quite a ways down. I'm going to end up pinched for my second shot, but it's not awful where it is. All right, so here I am. I'm to the left of the purple tee, but I still have a shot here. With the low ceiling, I'm thinking I'm going to try and maybe cut roll something in there to see if I can get a ways into the trees. Again, I'm not really quite sure how this is going to work out, but it's worth a shot. Again, first time here, haven't thrown a roller in a while, so we'll see what happens. Well, it hit a tree and I didn't get very far into the woods, but it made it far enough down where I don't think that's any worse than if I had just tried something more conventional. Here we are at the edge of the woods. We actually have a pretty clear shot to the red basket from here. This will be my third shot, and we can see the purple basket on the right side as well. I'd have a potentially makeable putt if I was playing to the purple basket, but I'm here in two, so I still have a shot at par for the red basket. Well, that'll be a shot at par anyway. So this is a makeable putt, though it is a death putt. The ground does drop off fairly steeply, what would be behind the basket or to the right of the basket if you are coming from the direction of play. It's probably a good 6 vertical feet down, but you're going to end up with a 20-foot plus putt coming back up the hill if I miss this. So key here is don't miss. Hooray, that's a 4 on this hole. From the basket of 8, something to note is that there's a trail down there to get to hole B and to hole C. So we're going to be playing those not right now, but after we play hole 9. So you get to hole 9, we take a right and head back out here. And move out here a bit. And right in front of us, we have the red and purple tees for hole 9. And just beyond, we have the gold, white, and blue tees for hole 9.
Hole 9 for the blue and white layout is a 278-foot par 3, downhill, slight dogleg to the left. The gold course plays as a 465-foot par 3, dogleg significantly to the left, and the basket is far past the main basket, which is the red basket, and back into the trees. The main basket does play quite a bit downhill, so it does play a bit shorter than the 278 feet would indicate, and we can see the purple and red tee just ahead to the left. All course configurations except for the gold tee play to the red basket, and the gold tee plays to the gold basket, again far around the corner to the left and back.
All right, here we are at the crest of the hill of hole 9. I'm just ahead and to the right of here. Here we can see the basket. The flag on top of the basket is taller than all the other flags are, which I suspected might be the case. The flag is probably 8 feet tall, so we can see it from the tee to make it visible. So we'll see how this works, see if I can get close and have a reasonable shot at par. I would consider that as leaving myself a reasonable shot at par. Hopefully this camera shot gives a good idea of how steep the bank on the right side of the green is. I didn't mention that, but I was kind of playing in that direction of if it went up there, it would slide down, and it did a little bit. So again, I've got a makeable par putt from here. All right, and there we go. Just to show where the gold basket is, the gold basket continues quite a ways down here. We have an additional crest that we need to go over. And if we go over the top of this crest, we can see just on the other side, we have the gold basket for hole 9. And this is really challenging, really tough to get there in 4. The more I see some of these gold holes, the better I feel about my decision to be playing the blues and not the golds. To get from the basket of 9, if we're playing the short course for the tee for 10, we have signs that will go over this trail, down across that bridge.
From the end of the path that we can see here, we continue straight. We will have to go up a hill, past a set of telephone poles to the basket for hole H, where we will pick up the video.
So to get from the basket of H to the tee for I, which is also the tee for hole 10, if we go left, just over here, we have the blue, white, and gold tee for hole 10, and just ahead and to the right we have the red tee for hole I and hole 10. Hole I and hole 10 is a 284-foot par 3 for the white and blue course, significantly downhill. There are 2 baskets here, so the gold tee plays to the basket that's on the upper tier. There's a lot of out of bounds here, marked by stakes. It's anything long, anything in the river on the right, or there's some trees on the left. You can kind of think of this as an island green. There is a drop zone by the path up to the upper tier that you must play from if your tee shot is out of bounds. If you're playing from anything other than the gold course, and if you're playing from the golds, it's optional to play there, or the normal out of bounds spot. So we'll see if I can get this close. Again, the creek is not something we're going to lose a disc in, and the foliage around the creek is relatively thin, and there is a disc retriever on the island by the lower basket. So hopefully we won't need to use that. Go in? No, sure. All right, that's pretty good. I'm gonna have a birdie putt from there. To get down the fairway, we want to go down this path to the right. Again, be a little bit careful, but this is the safest way to get down, is this path here to the right, which is the same one we've been up and down a couple times, and we have one more trip up this later. And how do we cross? Looks like to get to the basket, or to get to the green, we have to go around and up across the bridge on hole 4 rather. So we just want to be a little bit careful that nobody is playing here while we cross the bridge. And from the basket of 4, take a sharp left, follow the river around, and now we are on the other side, right in the green area. So a little short, but a makeable birdie putt. It is a little bit of a death putt. If it goes way long, it could be a problem. It does roll down, but there are some advertising banners there, so hopefully that this won't end up out of bounds. I'm not too worried about it ending up out of bounds. More concerned about it not making it in. One other thing to note here is that to the right, we can see the orange stakes that mark the drop zone, just barely in bounds by the out of bounds marker. Okay, let's see if I can make a birdie putt. Easy par.
To get to the tee of hole 11 from the main basket for hole 10, you need to continue up the path to the gold basket, then at the top of the plateau, take a left, and the blue and white tees will be not too far in front of you, and the gold tee will be a little bit further back and to the right from there.
So this is the gold tee for hole 11 and hole G. If we continue on a little further, we have the tee pad for hole 11 right over here. All right, here we have a little bit of a course reordering. So we are at hole G, which is also hole 11 on the tournament 18 course. So again, there's a little bit of a reordering. We end up playing 11 before we play 10 here. So 10 and I are the same, G and 11 are the same. The way that I'm playing the course with the full playthrough, G comes before I, so we are playing G. From the blue and white tees, this is a 304-foot par 3. There is out of bounds short of the creek. It looks like we need to clear about 175 to 200 feet in order to clear the creek. However, as long as we are left, it's not going to be too big of a deal. The basket is on a very steep side slope, so it's going to be tough to go long here, but if you end up high or end up with a long putt, the chance of a roll away and a longer following putt is real. So we'll see what we can do here. Hopefully clear far enough to get it in bounds and see how this goes. Well, that's right, but it's all inbounds over there, and it's shorter to clear the creek on the right. I'm definitely inbounds, even though you couldn't see where it landed, but I'm safe. All right, to get from the tee of G and 11 to the red and purple tees, we need to follow this path down. This is also how we get to the fairway. It's a little bit, so we do go downhill across this bridge, and again, the blue and or purple and red tees are a drop zone for the long baskets. It's optional to play it, but on this hole, chances are if you do not make it that far, then you're not in good shape. And here again, we can see the creek is not that deep. It's again unlikely to lose a disc in there, and I can see my disc right out in the open just in front of us right here. And then the basket, this gives you a better idea of how steep that side slope is for the basket. For me, this is a definite layup. I think any shot at trying to make a run at it would be a little bit foolish. I'm going to use my Omega Super Soft putter because it is the least likely to roll away. So I'm going to forehand this and hopefully get it to stick on the slope somewhat near the basket. it stuck, so mission accomplished. Here is a 25-foot par putt I do not want to miss. I missed it, but no roll away. Your initial temptation after hole 11 or hole G, going to H or 12, would be to go up this path. However, if we look at that sign, we definitely don't want to have that happen. So we're going to not go up that first trail, but we're going to go across here. We still want to be a little bit careful, but we can wait here, and oh, there is water here. So I'm going to see if there is actually water there. All right, so thankfully there was water in those water jugs. I do have my own, and I do have a little bit left, but I've been conserving for the last 5 holes or so, and it's probably low 90s with high humidity. So keeping hydrated is important. Stay hydrated, folks. So to get up to the tee from here, oh, and by the way, this is also right by the basket of hole 4. So if you have that a little early in the round, you can go that as well. This is the same path that we took going from 4 to 5. We are now going up to hole 10 and hole G. So there is 5. There's hole 12 over there. Here we have the gold tee for hole 12. And not too far up here. And here we have the blue and white tees for hole 12.
On the blue and white course, hole 12 is a 720-foot par 5. The fairway meanders to the left and back to the right and back to the left and then back to the right again when we get to the green. There is out of bounds past the creek downhill along the entire right side of the hole, and there is an area of hazard when we get up by the green that I'll talk a little bit more about later when we get up there.
So just in front of the red tees is where it makes a little jog to the right. You can see sort of the open gap. That's the most open gap up the fairway. That's where we want to end up going. Though it does open up here, it does go downhill, so I do have some trees to contend with, and I am significantly below where we are. So if I can just get up in the fairway, that's going to be an acceptable second shot for what I'm looking for. Had to get a little creative there, and not ideal, but I made progress. So up around the corner, and this is beyond where I took my second shot from, you can see the purple tees off in the woods on the left. And I think when we get to the crest of this hill, which is where my third shot landed, then we have a glimpse of the basket. Yeah, so we can see the basket from here. Again, this is going to be a pretty tricky shot to get in there. It looks like there is a small creek. That small creek plays as a hazard, meaning if you are in it, you play it where it lies with a 1-shot penalty. Let's see what I can do from here. I'm going to try something a little creative here, which means most likely I'm going to end up in the hazard due to Murphy's Law. No hazard, but that's out of bounds in the creek. Here we have a good look at the hazard and the basket. I went out of bounds a little bit short of here, so I'm going to be playing from the OB line. I am close enough for a potential miracle putt for bogey. I definitely cannot complain about that attempt. And putt for 7. And I will take my 7 and move on. Now, to get from the basket of 12 to the tee for 13, right now we are on the small bridge to get to the green of 12. So if we turn around, continue going as if the bridge had been extending away from the basket, and continue in this direction. Here we end up at the blue and gold tees for hole 13. The blue layout for hole 13 is a 580-foot par 4. All of the tees play to the red basket, except the gold tee plays towards the gold basket. So if you are playing that, you'll want to go to the second basket. We can see the red tee from here. If we follow the line of, we see the white stakes for the white tee, the red stakes for the red tee, the purple stakes for the purple tee. If we look at the leftmost red stake, the basket is directly above that on the side of the hill. The gold basket is further to the left and further up that hill. And I believe it's a raised basket. So this is a super death putt from where you end up. So we'll get a closer look at that when we get up there. There's no out of bounds on this hole, but it is a tunnel shot. I am just ahead and to the right of the red tees. We can see the purple tee is just ahead of us. And this gives you an idea of what happens if you end up going to the right. You have all these trees to contend with, and there's not really any good path through here. I'm going to try a little roller chip out, see how well this works. And I would say that worked out very well. After that roller, I have a clear shot at the basket. I've got one tree to avoid, but again, the bigger issue here is the hill. Going to the red basket, it's a huge death putt roll away. Going to the gold basket, it is a gargantuan roll away. So if you miss a putt from up there, you could very well have a 40-foot putt if you miss a 10-foot putt. So some strategy is going to come into play. Being where I am, I think I can get it close with a putter, so we'll see what happens. I grip locked it, and that's going to be an interesting decision for par. I'm close enough where I can give this a half-hearted lob attempt where it shouldn't roll away from here. Just to give you an idea of elevation, it's probably 7 feet from the base of the ground to the bottom of the first layer where the red basket is, and another 6 feet or so to the base of where the gold basket is. So this is definitely green of death. That was definitely the right no rollaway strategy, and that shot right there is why I carry that putter. To get from the basket of 13 to the tee for 14, if we continue behind the mound, we have a next tee sign over here. And if we take the left, follow this trail, and I think I see what appears to be the blue tee straight ahead. And it does look like we want to be a little bit careful, because this may be the direction that people are throwing. So I'm going to go to this little jog to the right. So if we look here, we have a small path to the red tee, and the red tee, not sure how well you can see it from here, but if we go a little bit further, yeah, there we can see the path for the red tee right there, the turf. If we continue on this way, we have the white tees, and continue to the end here, we have the blue and gold tees. Hole 14 for the blue course is a 390-foot par 3, dogleg right. The reason why we are here is that if we look through the trees, if we see that birch tree on the right side of the fairway off in the distance, and look a couple trees to the right of that, we can see the flag and the basket out there. So that's where we are going. The main play is going to be to go further left and then move the disc left to right. That's a much safer option, a much wider option. It may not appear to be so from right where this camera is placed, but if you're standing on the front of the tee, going over that big bushy group of ferns through that gap, it widens out significantly more and you have a much bigger gap to hit. For the gold tees, they use the gold basket, which is another 145 feet past and to the right. So again, it's gold is much longer, but you do have an extra shot to get there. So we'll see how this works out. I think if I get a 3 here, if I get a 3 on this hole, I will be very happy. Oh, and also there is out of bounds in the creek on the left side. So we don't want to go too far left, but we do want to be on the left side. And I popped that up, and that's on the woods in the brush on the right, which at least is not out of bounds. We have the purple tees just in front of us, and we have the first real good glimpse of the basket. Again, this is on the side of the hill, but you can see how wide this gap is once we get out here. The creek is not too far to the left, and I am way in the woods on the right. So we'll see how this works out. All right, the bad news is my second shot, I didn't really have any other options other than to chip out. The good news is I ended up in the middle of the fairway, so that's good. It does look like there is a bit of a death putt depending on where you end up. The ground does slope away pretty heavily from right to left if you go left of the basket. So being right and missing right is going to be the better option if you have a choice. Well, that definitely missed right, but that's going to be a death putt. It's death putt time. I will be happy with my 4 and move on. So just to see where we are at the red basket of 14. If we look up and to the right, we can see the gold basket for hole 14 up there. That makes it a lot more tricky and narrow gap, and it looks like it's going to be a death putt if it goes long. It looks like it's a steep roll away behind the basket. So definitely justifies the addition of a different shot. There's no way anybody's going to get anywhere close to circle 2 on a tee shot from the gold tees to get there in one shot. To get from the basket of 14 to the tee for 15, we continue past the basket of 14, follow this trail. We are going upstream by the river. This is a nice, well-defined trail through the woods. Little cloud cover, a little cool breeze. It's definitely appreciated on a day like today. We have the next tee sign. It appears there's also glow markers for Glow Golf. This path is a little long, but easy to follow. And we have a nice sturdy bridge to cross over. And here in front of us, we have the white tee for hole 15. If we turn to our right, we have the red and purple tee for hole 15. And if we turn to our left, we have the gold and blue tees for hole 15. Hole 15 for the blue configuration is a 306-foot par 3, dogleg left. We can actually see the basket from the tee if we look at the leftmost stake for the red tees. The basket is directly above that up in the woods, so that's where we want to go. If you're playing the gold basket, it is a 505-foot par 4, and that is significantly past that, I believe, to the right. So instead of going up that little bit at the end, you keep following the road to the right, and then it is tucked up in the woods further up. But we are just going to the red basket, so hopefully we can get it close. It is fairly significantly uphill from here, so we'll see what we can do. Bounce out. That started off okay, but sailed on me and ended up way right. So we have a little bit of an elevated basket built up on some wood blocks. There's a little platform up there, so as long as you're putting uphill, you're fine. I actually have a clear shot of the basket, I think, from where I am. So we'll see if I can make a run at this. I definitely did not have a clear run at that. I actually needed to be about 20 feet shorter, and I would have had a clear shot at the basket. I am happy with that attempt. If you are playing to the gold basket, this is quite a bit further up. As you can see, we can see the red basket back there. We are standing next to the gold basket. And if we look at the pin placement, if we go up over and take a look, we do not want to go over the banking on the gold basket placement at all. Otherwise, we're going to end up 60, 70 feet away, and a very difficult path to get down there, plus being lucky if you're not out of bounds in the river. And POV for 4. All right. And to get to the next tee, we go back down here. Be a little bit careful because we are throwing up the runway. Continue down this path. This is the road that we can use as a guide marker. We do want to be a little bit careful because we are going up the fairway of hole 2. This is a bit of a hike, but to get to hole 16 from the basket of 15, we do have to walk up the fairway of hole 2, cross back across. Again, just be aware that people may be throwing here. We have a next tee 16 sign, so we know we're going in the right direction. Cross across the red, white, and purple tee for hole 2. And then take this path. This is far enough away from hole 1 where we shouldn't have to worry about it. Though this path is long and it's not really marked, it is very well defined and there's nowhere to go off of it. And when we get to the end, we are at the tee for hole 16 for blue, white, and gold. Hole 16 is a 220-foot par 3. The gimmick here is that from the blue and gold tees, it is an island green, and it is hazard if you do not make it to the island. The pin is in the back of the island, so the back of the hazard zone is the grass, and there are a couple of logs there, so you don't really want to be long. The front is about 30 feet short of the basket, so you really have a pretty small window to get it in there to land where you're not in the hazard. If you're playing the whites, there is no hazard, so play as normal without the 1 penalty stroke if you do not make it on the island. And that's in the hazard. It was going to be right anyway, even if it made it past the tree. Here we are short. We can see the island clearly marked by blue stakes. So I am shooting my third shot here. And putt for bogey. So here's another split for the full 27-hole course, where I will be playing hole J and then 17 and 18. If you're playing the 18-hole course, you would go directly to 17 and skip hole J from here. So you get from 16 to J, you go straight past the island.
And now you will want to walk through hole J directly past the basket of hole J where we will pick up the video.
After hole J, then we go to 17. To get to the tee of hole 17, if we continue straight past the basket, we have the blue and white tees in front of us, which is where we're going. If we look to our left, that is the gold tee for hole 17. And if we have that other mystery hole there, mystery tee box, that is the tee for hole K. So we will be visiting that a little bit later after we play hole 18. So we can continue on over here to hole 17. And here we are. Hole 17 from the white and blue tees is a 450-foot par 4. It is uphill. It is a dogleg right to left. We cannot see the basket from the tee, however, it is in line with going directly over the red and purple tees, which we can see off to our left. The best path to get there is go up to that bend. We have a group of 2 or 3 trees up the main fairway, and then if we can miss those trees, get around those somehow, then go left, gradually left from there. So this is more of a placement tee shot than necessarily distance, which, given how my arm has been going today, that's a good thing. I popped that one up again. Here, even though I went way right, there's still enough open gaps to have options of what to do here. We can also see the purple basket, which is only played by the purple course configuration. Everybody else goes to the red baskets. We can see the red basket up in the distance between the 2 birch trees that are way up there. So I have a narrow gap and have to get a little creative, but I think I can still get to within a reasonable distance and have at least a very good shot at par. But not if I hit more trees. Let's see if my third shot's any better. There we go. Well, that was a very good approach shot that will save me par, I think. That'll do. To get from the basket of 17 to the tee for 18, if you're playing the white, red, or purple, you are going to want to take that path there to the right of the basket if you're looking with your back to the tee. If we are playing the gold or blue, which we are, we continue straight past the basket. And there is kind of a path here. Yep, and there we have, and if we look to our right, we have the blue tee, which is where we are going. And from the blue tee, if we look to our left, we have the gold tee, which is way back yonder. Hole 18 from the blue tee is a 580-foot par 4, dogleg right. Almost all the dogleg is going to be on the second shot at the end. The basket that we are playing to is the one by the basket for hole J and is on the other side of the out of bounds. So those out of bounds stakes were purely to separate hole 18 from hole J. So that gives us an idea of where we were going. All 5 configurations use the same basket, but different tee placements here. At 580 feet, this is a mid to long length par 4, but it is relatively open as long as we can hit this first gap. And after the second gap, things open up beyond where the red tees are. Still popping it up, but at least I hit the first gap. I'm about 30 feet to the right of here, just short of the red tees. I have a roller gap, so the roller's been working for me, so I'll see if I can just get this out into the fairway and maybe get some additional distance out of it. Well, I'm in the trees on the left side, which gives me more options to get to the basket, which is off on the right. All right, it did roll far enough to get some significant distance, and I have a clear third shot, well, except for sort of the guardian trees near where everything is. But we can see the basket from this point now. If we look off in the distance and see the bottom corner nearest us of the solar panels, the basket is directly below that. It's between a couple narrow gaps in trees, and I don't think I'm going to be able to utilize that gap. However, I've got some options to get close. And that was an early release and went way right of where I wanted. And let's see how my miracle par putt through the trees works. No, but I'm through the trees and have a shot at bogey from there. With only one good shot on that hole, being a 20-foot putt, I can't really be too upset with a 6.
To get back to the parking lot from the basket of hole 18, all we have to do is go back to the building that we just passed. That is the start building right next to the parking lot that we paid our $5 fee at to begin the round. As I was playing, there was significant maintenance taking place. Mowing and trimming was happening in several places, and with the amount of work that was actively happening, it is very clear that my $5 fee was going directly back into the course. Additionally, this is now listed as a 36-hole course with several holes being added on UDisc, and some of the holes having modified tee locations for the gold layout. Golly gee whiz, it looks like this is a course I'm going to have to add to my regular rotation to keep track of all the ongoing work and changes. The thumbnail for this course is the tee shot for hole 3. This is also my favorite hole on the course. This hole has everything that you would want in a disc golf hole. Elevation change, OB and water where you're unlikely to lose a disc thanks to the course-provided disc retrievers in strategic locations, a challenging green with obstacles to avoid, and course configurations that will challenge people of all skill levels. For those of you who saw my 10 favorite holes that I played in 2025 video, this should not come as a surprise. My least favorite hole is hole 16. I don't think that there's really anything wrong with this hole, but it is the shortest, most basic, and straightforward hole on the 18-hole layout. It does offer a challenge not seen elsewhere on the 18-hole layout, though, so it is fine. The first and last holes are critical for introducing the course and leaving the last impression at the end of the round. Regardless of which configuration you're playing, I think hole 1 gives a good idea of what to expect. The purple, red, and white configurations have a relatively basic shot in the woods that requires hitting gaps to get close. The blue configuration has a longer shot that requires hitting these gaps from significantly further away, and the gold configuration adds in a different basket placement that is much more difficult to get to and is more heavily guarded by trees. Hole 18 is a good way to end the round, especially as a tournament hole, where a par feels good and even a bogey 5 doesn't feel bad for a noodle arm like me. Course navigation is likely significantly easier for the 18-hole course than the 27-hole layout that this playthrough is based on. The only potential issues I could see are going from 9 to 10, which I didn't traverse as there's a split for the 27-hole configuration there, and it would be nice knowing that it is a hike from 15 to 16, and maybe another sign in the woods after walking past the hole 2 tee would help confirm that you're going the right way would be enough there. There are several places on this course that are not safe for discs. It's very nice that the disc retrievers are strategically placed around the course, and when I played, none of the water was deep enough to have lost a disc in any of the creeks. The real danger zones are a bad tree kick off the fairway on hole 2, though this is less of an issue from the shorter tee, the marsh you have to clear on hole 4, the shrubbery short and left on hole 5, far left on 14, and over the cliff left on 15 for the gold basket. Of these, I did not use any discs that I wouldn't normally due to the possibility of losing one. The bigger issue for my overall enjoyment of the round was the Latitude 64 river I lost due to a horrible tee shot on hole 4, which I only had one of at the time. This is my go-to disc for any throw of about 200 feet that needs to go left. After this round, I started bagging 2 of these. That said, the disc return program at Westy is very good, and my disc was found in November. I did receive a text, though I was logistically not able to make it to Westy Acres to retrieve it in a timely manner, and having purchased 2 more, it was not worth me making a special trip just for that disc. The tee pads on the main 18 holes are all very good turf tee pads. The tee signs are all very informative and do a good job of capturing what all 5 course configurations need to do, and they are aesthetically pleasing to fit the design of the course. The only other things I would like to see on the tee sign are direction to the next tee and the elevation change. I believe that all of the baskets that I played were Disc Catcher Pro baskets, and they are fine. I had no issues with any of the baskets on the course. This is a course that attempts to cater to all disc golf players. New players will get the full experience from the purple course, and pros will be challenged by the gold course. Having seen the gold course while playing the blue course, I felt more comfortable in my decision the further the round went along. The holes 7 and 18 are the only holes where having a 500-foot plus of distance can make a big difference in scoring. There are many shots on the gold course that require both more distance than I have and accuracy to score well as the downright evil basket placements on holes 13 and 15 that have redefined in my mind what a death putt really is. My overall course rating is that I would be willing to drive 3 hours out of my way to play this course for the first time and 2.5 hours to play this course again. There is so much variety on this course, it is beautifully maintained, and there are ongoing updates to this course that make this a true disc golf destination. It is worthy of UDisc's ranking in the top 100 courses, and though there are a few other nearby-ish courses that take some of the limelight away from Westy Acres, like Maple Hill, Mile Marker 63, Meadowbrook Orchards, and Pyramids, this is a gem of a course that is worth a visit if you are anywhere remotely in the area. I will definitely play this course again, and with the continual upgrades of this course, it's likely to be in my regular rotation of courses that I play. Like, share, subscribe, and click the notification bell to make sure you get notified of when my playthroughs of new courses come out. Check out my other video linked here or the playlist of my disc golf courses of Vermont and New Hampshire linked in the description.